editing live stream where I edit your photos using DxO Photolab 9. And I've talked about DxO Photolab, you know, uh, recently because they released Photolab version 9, which now includes AI detect uh, selection, which is pretty amazing. It's had a few bumps and glitches, and it's not been very stable for me. But a lot of you said that it's been working great for you. Uh, and I got a recent release, not available to the public, but a beta copy that seems to be very, very stable. Uh, I did have a few glitches where I had to restart Photolab 9, but what seemed to work best for me uh, is the NVIDIA driver. I backed it up to version 6.5, or I can't remember the exact version. Let me see. It came out in June. Let me just look at it real quick. I'm on version 5.8. Oh, I'm on the latest release actually, 5.81.29. So actually, the last couple of days I've been running this on the latest version released September 10th, 5.81.29, with my NVIDIA graphics RTX 4080. So that's good. Um, But like I said, it hasn't been perfect, but we're getting there. They're going to work this out, either NVIDIA and or DxO, so that it's more stable for those of you that have been running into problems with, particularly with the AI detect. And that said, the AI detect, when you select subjects like people, animals, structures, when it is working, and it's been working mostly lately, uh, I found it actually to be a little bit slower to do it that way than to just use the rectangle tool and highlight the subject directly. And that has been very, very stable. Highlighting subjects, using the mouse pointer, using the rectangle tool. I really haven't been having problems with that. It's really just with the subject detect, people, animals, structures, whatever that list is. And but I prefer the other ones because they're faster. I can just point to what I want to do and it automatically selects the right thing most of the time. So um, you'll see what I mean as we go through these. And the reason I do these photo editing streams is really about showing you my photo editing workflow uh, and the tools that I use in DxO Photolab, like the control points, the denoising, um, so that you can uh, get more proficient at photo editing. I have a lot of photos today. I think there's like 17 of them, so I'm going to go through them pretty fast. Normally, I like to walk through and my thought process for each. I'll do a little bit of that, but uh, since I have so many, I need to get through them quickly and try to keep the stream right around a 2-hour limit. So it's good to see everybody here. I see Robert's here, Paul is here, Kevin, Darko, Larry, uh, Gord, good to see you guys. Jeff, of course, and Simon and Monty. Wow, that's a new name. I haven't seen that before. Welcome to the stream. Um, all right. So all that said, let's go ahead and get started. And I am an affiliate for DxO. So they gave me a 15% discount code for new customers. So if you want to get any of the DxO products, uh, you can use that discount code down below and save a substantial amount. And that's kind of an ongoing coupon that I have for 2025. Hopefully, I'll get another one for 2026 and also for existing customers. I've been kind of pushing for that, but I just can't get them to budge for existing DxO customers to get additional discount. Oh, and Roland, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Okay, and then the other thing is when you submit your images, try to submit the raw image, and then after I'm done editing your particular image, or really anytime during the stream, you can submit your edit of your image that you did, and upload it, and then we can compare what you did versus mine, and that way we can kind of learn from each other. Because a lot of times I like what you guys did even more. So, and that's why I do these streams is so that we can both learn from our photo editing, our composition, and different viewpoints of how we see subjects and what we think is important or not important. You know, it's a great place to kind of share our ideas about this wonderful craft we enjoy, photography. Oh, Roberto says he's using CPU and it's slow. Yes, best to just click on what you want and it does the same thing faster. So, yeah, if you turn off CPU acceleration and just rely on the GPU, and I have a 13th gen Intel i9 with, I don't know, a billion cores in it. Even that, it's very, very slow. Uh, it can take several minutes to export an image, whereas I can usually get it done in less than a minute when I use DxO Deep Prime and stuff. So, and also with new with DxO9, besides the AI, is it now supports the Fujifilm X-Trans sensor up to the latest one, the 40 megapixel. And I have seen an improvement in the noise reduction. It's very subtle, but what they mostly fixed was that kind of that worminess, uh, demosaicing that a lot of other photo editors have. And so that's really nice because I do shoot Fujifilm time to time, and I have the XH2. But okay, I'm sorry. Let's see if I can get everything up. Of course, it's not working. Seriously, hold on. Why doesn't the screen come up? Well, there's me. Where's the screen? There we go. Ooh, it's tiny. Let me enlarge it real quick, and then we'll get started. I'm sorry. Let me make it bigger so you can see the sliders a little better. I don't have that fancy software that enlarges the area that you're uh, wherever your mouse pointer is. So I just have to change the zooming. Okay, almost there. It's this one. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. I have to move this window here so I can see the chat. All right, now I'm ready, I think. Hi, William. Good to see you. All right. And yes, I have turned the ads back on since yeah, yeah, I was losing, I only make a little bit, but every little bit helps. Okay, all right, so we'll start here. This one here. Whew, it's a nice seascape with a couple of riders here. I like the composition overall. It's really interesting. It's obviously this is on a beach and there's some birds back here. So the first thing I like to do is just look at the overall composition, the exposure, and if I need to make any kind of immediate global changes, like if it's underexposed, if I need to brighten it up. But the exposure is good. The composition now, uh, I always try to figure out. I think composition wise, we're okay. It's a little bit, I think, too much down here for me. So what I might do is just crop a little bit of the bottom off and have the riders with the reflection here a little more prominent. Uh, And it might sort of affect the overall scale of this image and how long this beach is. Because clearly it's very flat and the water's coming all the way up to here. It's pretty amazing. So I might lose that. But first thing I always do is apply basic preset, which is the signature DxO optical corrections and denoising. And the optical corrections a lot of time fix vignetting. So there was a little bit of brightening here. Uh, but it doesn't apply any exposure adjustments. So this is simply what the DxO optics module is doing to uh, correct the defects in the lens. And that's not the nice way to say it, but that's what it's doing. All right, so let me just explore a couple of composition options here. And if I center them or keep them at the bottom of the frame, maybe like this. Gosh, it feels like you're almost on top of them now. But there isn't enough room to put them at the top or the middle of the frame because I want to kind of keep the scale overall. So I think I'll go with this. And then let's go over to local adjustments since I don't really need to do anything globally. And I'm going to do a control line and just apply some clear view first and see if that makes it a little more interesting. And I'm going to bring the exposure down. Not highlights, I want exposure. I'm going to bring the exposure down just a bit and then maybe warm it up a little bit too. Just a little bit there. And I like to try to stay plus or minus 500 Kelvin on the white balance. And tint I don't mess with too much unless it's like a sunrise or sunset type scene. But I think that looks good. Let me just see it before and after. Yeah, that's a little more interesting. I might add a little more warmth right into these highlights though. So let me use a control point. Oops, I need to make a new mask. Slightly different workflow from version 8. So let's do another control line. But this time I'm going to move the pointer into the brighter areas. And then tighten up the luminosity mask. Right about there. And then I'm going to add some warmth to this. About like that. And for very, very small local adjustments, I'm a little bit more flexible with the Kelvins. And maybe a slight pull on the highlights. And some micro contrast. Okay. I'll just bring that all the way down. Okay, that works. All right. Now I want to enhance the reflection here, and the riders are pretty well exposed, but let's use a couple of control points. So make a new mask, and we'll just use clear view to bring out that reflection. And when I'm doing the selective tones, I try to make a straight line with the sliders. that always seems to produce the most natural results for me. Okay, I'm going to spread this out a bit more. Okay, that looks good. And actually, maybe just a little bit of vibrancy in there too, just to saturate that a tiny bit more. Okay, I think I'm done. So I'm going to export this, and you have to export it to get to see all the effects of the optics module, the sharpening, the denoising. You have to do everything. What we're looking at while I'm editing is kind of a quick preview for, expediency, but to actually see all of the final result, you have to export it. The other option is you could use a loop tool, and that will show you the final version. So maybe I'll just do a quick loop tool on the riders here. And yeah, I think they look as good as you can get it. I can maybe do a tiny bit of sharpening. Let's see, I'm still on the control point. Let's see if I can just sharpen them up a bit. Okay, now let's export this. And I'm going to use JPEG 95%. That keeps the file sizes reasonable. And then preserve color details, and also I export an sRGB ICC profile, because your images are typically displayed on a monitor, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, or on your computer. Okay, and we can watch the export process here with this little arrow here. And the first image, I don't know why, but it takes a little longer doing the first image, say, versus the following images. But this one's going pretty quick. Uh, so that image took 18 seconds on my computer. All right, and then I'm going to reset this one, and then we're going to compare it against the output. So this is how you compare sort of like a total before and after. Um, and we'll just do a side by side. I hit the F9 key to push the panels off to the side, and this one I'll just pull down. So here's my edited image on the left, and here's the original. So I think composition-wise, I like this a little better. I went maybe a little bit heavy on the warming over here, but uh, other than that, I think we're okay. Let me get my big head out of the way. And I might desaturate it a tiny bit. It's a little bit rich on the blues. So let me do that real quick. I'm just going to maybe just do a desaturate. Let me do it on the control line. So let me show the mask, see which one it was. It was this one. Turn off the mask. And just desaturate that entire area there. All right, that looks good. I'll go ahead and export this. All right. Okay. We'll wait a few seconds for this to finish exporting. All right, there we go. All right. Yeah, that's better. That's better. It was a little bit too rich before, but I think that works out pretty well. All right, beautiful image. Uh, and just to highlight the the optics module a bit here, you can see, oops, you can see how soft the horses and the riders look in here versus, the edited version. And I'm zoomed in here 200%. It doesn't line up correctly because I cropped it, but you can see a pretty big difference there. Okay, let's do the next one here. Here's one from Larry, little astrophoto. Okay, so with astrophotography, I'm going to apply a basic preset first. And typically, you want the skies to be as black as possible. White balance is usually an issue also with a lot of astro photography. So I like it to be a little cooler in general, uh, because the light pollution tends to warm up the image more than I think it looks naturally to our eyes. So it's beautiful Milky Way shot with a few streaks of planes. And wow, you got this shot in 10 seconds. That's pretty good, with a 12 millimeters. So really good settings on this one. Couldn't ask for more for a single shot Milky Way. Um, so what I'm going to do is try to let's just start with the white balance. So this is kind of a global change. Let's just pick somewhere in the middle here between the daylight, or I'm sorry, the light pollution and the black sky. Okay, that helps. If I go a little bit lower, that's too much. I think about right there looks good. All right, good. And then we'll keep the horizon there because that was very intentional, I think. So all I want to do is sort of bring out the Milky Way here, and then minimize the back. I just have to be a little bit careful with the stars. I don't want to lose all the variety of colors of these stars as well. So I'm gonna check my loop. You know, astro uh astro pictures are a little bit different approach. You have to be really careful with the denoising. So let me see. I'm gonna back off dead pixels a bit. And just maybe pump the force details a bit. Mm, turn down the bokeh. This looks good. This looks good. Maybe turn off the unsharp mask. Okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna use the loop tool again. Just wanna okay, you see when I when I look at the original image, you can see like a blue here, a sort of a reddish orange here, some greens that are the actual color of the stars and not noise. But deactivate when I activate the denoising, all the stars turn white, which I want to try to minimize that. So I'm going to, let's back off the luminance down, and we'll just give it a little touch. Try the deep prime 3. Yeah, or standard. No, we'll stay with the deep prime D. Okay, I think I'll go there. I'm still losing a tiny bit of color, but I might be able to bring them back a little bit with some, maybe with a different color profile. We'll try vibrant. I see a tiny bit more blue and red. And then there we go. Perfect. And then chromatic aberration. Let me turn this on and off. How about in the corner? Okay. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn off purple fringing. Okay, because this lens is really good. All right. Oh, much better. I don't know if you can see this in the stream, but now I'm seeing a lot more color in the stars. So uh, let's go into some local adjustments. And I'm going to use, again, I'm going to start way down here. And let me tighten up the luma masking. And let's pick sort of maybe the midpoint again. Let's go right up here to the darkest part. I want the masking to be really, really tight. Okay. I'm going to turn the chroma masking off. We'll just darken the sky just a tiny bit, just the blacks. And just pump the contrast a bit. Okay. So let's see. I'm just doing a quick compare. All right, not bad. Maybe I can go just a tad on the clear view. All right. Um, Now let's work on the center here, the Milky Way part, because I think the sky is about as good as I want it. Again, I'm going to try control points. Let's make a new mask. And again, these are going to be very tight on the masking. I might need a separate one down there. I'm just moving this around until I kind of get the look that I want, or the masking that I want. I think, let me see, yeah, right here. And right here. And then a little bit up here. I might have to do a different one for that one. Let's do up here with a very tight lumen mask. All right, good. Uh, all right, so we'll start with the highlights. Then we'll push the midtones. A lot of this Milky Way is kind of in the shadows. So I'm going to try and keep a straight line. Just exaggerate that point a bit. I might need to come down. I need to come back down a bit. No, we'll leave that one out. I'll just try and spread this a bit more. Okay, and then maybe a little bit of pull on the blacks. Do some clear view and some vibrancy. Maybe a little micro contrast. Okay. And let's do the same thing for the second mask. Push on the highlights, midtones, a little bit of pull here on the blacks, tiny bit of clear view and some micro contrast. Larry, I did do a preset, I believe. I'll just check. Yeah, I did apply it. Um, okay, this needs a little bit more shadow push. Let's see the mask. Let me just shrink it a little bit. Might have to move it up. There we go. And we'll push some vibrancy in there. A little more saturation. We'll do the same thing for this one. All right, awesome. Okay, I'm going to do one more control mask and then we'll call it. Use a control line. Just want to work on the bottom a bit here. Let's spread that out nice and lean and see if we can just make it a little bit darker down here with some blacks. Not too much because the light pollution is kind of washing out the Milky Way. Otherwise, we would see it all here. But I'm not going to be able to separate that too well. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the global. Let's just do a global push like that. And then I'm going to manually just warm it up a tad. Add some of the magenta back in. No, not that much. All right, let's export that. And we're almost there. Okay, pretty dramatic difference, I think. And again, I was, it's just this is really an exaggerated look to the Milky Way versus, this is a little more natural other than white balance, right? The white balance is a little bit too warm. So I've kind of exaggerated the Milky Way shot, but that's just purely it's a very subjective choice. And I was very careful not to, because Milky Way shots have so many stars in them. And again, I could minimize this. Like there's some glow around some of these, but I would you really need specialized astrophotography software to get rid of some of this glow around some of the stars. But I think overall, if I worked on it a little more, I could tweak it and minimize some of the glow around the individual stars that should not be there. But that's because I added a lot of vibrancy. So I'm editing this photo in the context of displaying it full screen and not pixel peeping it, right? Or printing it and not pixel peeping it. But there is specialized astrophotography software to deal with some of the issues you run into with an astrophoto. But I think this came out pretty good. Okay. Let's see. We have one here from William, and I see this every day. In fact, there's a helicopter going over my house right now. I live right near an Air Force base, like a mile away. So constantly helicopters and the occasional jet. And a lot of the prop planes sound like helicopters sometimes. Okay, so we'll do a basic preset. Uh, I think composition-wise, I kind of like how it's moving. Got a I got a little spot on my screen. It looks like sensor dust, but it's my screen is dirty. I think all we have to do is maybe just see if we can bring out some of the sky. So let's try an AI tool and just use the mouse pointer and see if we can bring out anything in there. Ah, it's a cloudy day. All right, a little micro contrast, a little bit of a pull. See if we can increase the contrast here. Oh, I do see a sensor spot right here. That's not my monitor, but I just want to bring out the cloudiness of the sky. Okay, it's not bad. Um, and then I'm just going to use, let me try the mouse pointer again. Let's make a new mask. Let's see if I can just get the bottom of the helicopter. Oops, I missed. There we go. No, I think a control point will be better. I'm just trying to brighten the bottom up a little bit. I guess that's okay. Let me see. Yeah, this works. Just do a linear push. Give it a little bit of clarity. I'll add that to it. And I'm going to use a control point for the windows. These are like the eyes of the helicopter, right? A little bit tighter on the luminosity. Okay, and then globally, maybe a little bit of warmth. I think that's it. So export that. Wait for that to finish. It's exporting pretty fast today. That's good. All right, there we go. All right, so really not much to do here other than try to bring out the texture or the details in the sky because it is a cloudy day. The original raw image, I couldn't tell if it was just a hazy sky or if it was actually cloudy. And apparently it is very cloudy out, uh, with just a hint of light here on the front. So he's flying into the sun somewhere. And that's all we needed to do. And then if we just do a split view to see if, just to kind of eyeball the details, right? It cleaned up very nicely, I think. I mean, I don't like to be a rivet counter where you can count the rivets like in the craft, but with the with DxO, it really brings out a lot of detail. And I didn't fine tune the detail either. This is just the default settings basically. All right, awesome. Let's do the next one. Oh, two from William. I'm gonna have to. That's why I got so many because I saw two from John and two from William. But that's okay. But try to minimize. Try to only send me one picture at a time, uh, so I can get to everybody as quickly as possible. So let's do a basic preset and composition wise. I think we're okay. I don't know what this is. This is some kind of man. What do? You go from up here and then you ride down. I've never seen that before. It's like just a platform. Maybe it's not for people. Maybe it's for bringing rocks down for headstone or something. I don't know. All right. Question is, do we? It's really interesting. If these ropes and things were a small part of the frame, I'd probably brush them out. But because the subject seems to be this palette down here, and then the background, these beautiful landscapes, seascape is just background noise. All right, so let's work on the landscape a bit, and then we'll come back to this area down here. I'm not sure exactly what to do composition wise because we have pretty good symmetry already, so I don't think I need to change anything, and the balance feels just about right in terms of just pure mass, right? I feel like there's good balance as well. So let's just work on the. So I'm going to try a couple of AI tools. I'm kind of risking it. My confidence level has been shaken a little bit with the first couple of releases of DxO 9, but I'm gonna go with it here. And let's brighten the sky and just give it a little bit of contrast. Maybe shift it blue a little bit too. Okay. And then let's make a new mask for the mountains. Select that and that. Okay. Again, we'll add some clear view and micro contrast. And let's just push the highlights a bit. Maybe a touch of vibrancy. Okay. And then I'm going to use, let's make a new mask for this side. Just right in here. Just want to just add a little more detail. I think we're okay. All right. And then I'm going to use a control line for down here. And we'll just feather that in, but kind of the same idea. I just need to see it a little more in the frame. I'm going to touch of contrast in there. Okay, then one last mask here. Just use the AI tool to select the water and clear view, pull in the blacks a bit and push the highlights. What if I cool that off a bit? Okay. I'll go back to my mask down here. I didn't quite get the effect that I wanted down there, so I'm going to make a new mask and use control points and just highlight some of these areas in here. Just give them a little kiss of extra light. There we go. This one can be a little bigger. And then add a tiny bit of warmth. All right, good. All right, let me get the loop in and just make sure I didn't make it too crunchy. Well, actually, if how about down here? Okay, those look good. That looks good. That looks good. I guess that's okay. It's a minor depth of field issue. Okay. All right. One more thing I want to do, whoops, is I'll make a new mask, a new control point just for this plank. It's just a little bit hot there. Okay. That's the before. I'm going to go back to, I think, my original mask this one of these mountains. It's a little bit too contrasty, so I'm going to back that off a bit, along with the clear view, because it's a little bit too crisp. So let's just use a standard linear gradient, and we'll do just a bit of softening here by just reducing the contrast. Okay. I don't think, yeah, we'll just do the auto micro contrast. Yeah, I don't think we need that. Smart lighting, it's not bad. Let me just back this off a bit. And everything else looks good. All right, let's export that. And wait for that to export, then we'll compare. So William says it's a double zip line for people. And the wood thing is a hard surface. Okay. And then Mark says, sent you a pygmy seahorse. Have been using the Lightroom, but I'm happy with how it handles OM1 files. I read that Photolab handles the files better, so I purchased it through your link. Thank you very much, Mark. And I have to leave for work, but I uploaded my edit. Okay. All right, let's compare. All right, thank you, Mark, for your support. I appreciate that. And we will look at your seahorse. Oops. Compare side by side. All right. So yeah, the edit on the left, basically it looks like all I did was add contrast, but there are some subtle uh distinct changes, like just giving the foreground a little bit more light here and there, just kisses of light. So it's more contrast rather than this is very, very flat over here to me. Like I noticeably I made this rock brighter, this little hump brighter, and then the corners. And I wanted to maintain that softness that I saw here in the background. Uh, so that's why I reduced the contrast in a linear way coming down and then made the water darker. So I think that came out pretty good. And compositionally, I feel like the balance and everything is really good. So um, yeah, I think that looks really good. And we can again punch in on the detail. I was having a little problem with the details back here on these rocks, uh, but it seems okay. What I might do, it's not bad. I would probably back off the noise reduction a little bit in this case because I'd like to see a little more detail, and I'm losing just a tiny bit in here. So I think with a little bit more editing, I would probably back off the noise reduction a tiny bit back here because we don't need too much. And if we look at the setting, I applied 40%. So I would probably want to back that off, something like that. Okay, very good. So thank you, William, for that one. And let's see, we have one here as a cat or a kitten, more like, looks like a kitten. So I'm going to brighten the eyes, highlight some of the lighting I see in here. So let's apply a preset and maybe darken the background a tiny bit. I don't need to use any AI tools for this really. I can just kind of just do my normal brightening here in the eyes. So I'll add some clear view to make them a little shiny. And I'm going to move this over. Let's make this a little tighter. I'm going to tighten up the chroma mask in this case, in the Luma. Okay, good. Just back a little bit. And some micro contrast. So let's see. Okay, perfect. And then let's make a new mask for the ears. There's just kisses of light coming in through the ears because that's a very thin part, right? So let's push the shadow areas and give it a little warmth. What are we at? Yeah, just about maybe 200 Kelvin. Okay. And then I'm going to try and, oops. I'm going to try and temper the highlights here in the whiskers. Maybe over here a bit too. Some micro contrast. All right, good. Oh, there's a little spider over here or insect of some kind. And then let's do a new mask and do a control line. I'm going to just add a little bit of warmth in the background. I'm going to do a relatively tight chroma mask. And let's warm that up in the background. Push the highlight. Oops. If I back that off, not there. Okay, we're getting there. All right. And then I'm just going to add a vignette. So let's do a control point. So the way you add a vignette is you put a control point in the center. This is like a radial gradient in Lightroom. Invert it, and then turn the chroma and luma down to 0. 'Cause people ask me this all the time. How do you make a vignette in uh, Photolab without, because it doesn't have a vignetting tool directly like this, because I can make this dark as I want. But I think, let me enlarge it. because I don't want the vignette to affect this corner too much. And I'm going to cool it off even. Whoops. Yeah, just cool it off a tiny bit. All right. Perfect composition, nice balance, good colors. The eyes, I can go back. Let me go back to the eyes. I think that was the first thing I did, right? I'm just going to add just a linear push and a little more vibrancy. All right, let's export that. Remember, I promised you a picture of my cat last week. This is Momo. Oh, hello, Momo. Beautiful cat. Really beautiful. Oops, not done exporting yet. Should be there shortly. Yeah, it should be done. Yeah. All right, so I think that came out pretty good. Basically, just warmed it up in the background. I was thinking about making it a little darker, but that not necessary. I think just warming it up helped. Uh, and then continuing that warmth through the ears here a little bit. But then with using the vignette tool, cooling off just sort of down in the corners, uh, just to give the overall scene a little more dynamic range in terms of color instead of just being all, this is just all green, right? So I wanted to add a little warmth here and a little bit of coolness here, and then brightening the eyes. Of course, that's really the biggest change. And I think that came out pretty nice. And then also tempering the highlights here on the whiskers, right? May have overdone it there a little bit, but at least now you can see some of the details. But that's, yeah, that's a huge difference. Okay, very good, beautiful. Let's see, what do we have here? Some sort of crab. Interesting. So apply basic preset. I'm gonna bring up my panel. This, I'm guessing this is a TG7 or something. Oh wow, because I assumed it was underwater, but maybe not. It's just all-in-one with a 90 macro. F5 ISO 200. So what I'd recommend here, Mark, uh, on your settings is try to use like F9 and don't worry about cranking the ISO too much because we're working with DxO and up to about 3200 you still get most of the details. So I think I see what's going on. This might be your arm and this thing is crawling on your arm and this is a tattoo on your arm maybe. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at, but composition wise it's a little bit off center to the left. So let's just I like symmetry. Maybe a square crop. Okay, that works for me. And then we'll try and minimize over here on the left. So let's just do a line, control line, and just pull it down a bit. Let's fix this spot right here. And I wonder if I can use this tool to, whoops, let me make a new control point or a new mask. And I'm going to erase, ooh, and turn this up. Too much. Dang it. I'm just pushing the Alt key to do a negative. I just want to feather around it. Okay, that's good. Let's try some micro contrast. A little bit of pull on the blacks. And I think all else I need to do is maybe a little vignetting. So same idea, just 00 chroma luma, invert the control point. And just pull the mask in a bit more. Okay. Let's see if we can bring out just a tiny bit more detail. We'll go over here to the detail panel. Let's back this off a bit. And then see what that does. That's not bad. Over here, okay, let's use the unsharp mask. So I'm going to increase the radius a tiny bit. Right about there. And I just kind of play with these sliders until I get a look that I want. And do a little more here. I'm just turning it on and off to kind of compare. I think we're okay. So again, I'm editing this not for pixel peeping. I'm editing it just to kind of get a feel. All right, I think that looks good. Let's export to disk. Oh, wow. Thank you, Simon, so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. And I think I saw maybe one more. Larry, God, thank you so much, Larry. I really appreciate that. I was so focused on editing, I kind of missed that one. And then it hit me. I thought I saw something, but thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so let's compare these two. So composition, yeah, I just squared it off. I think this is a little better. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here. So that's why I cropped it in. I may have pulled the blacks a little bit too much over here. I probably just should have leaned in on a vignetting rather than a complete pull on the exposure. Because I like this bluish, turquoisey kind of look over here. So I would back that off on a if I revisited this. And then if we look at the details, I did a lot of work on the sharpening. Again, not so much for pixel peeping, but I think I think that helps the perception of the sharpness a bit. If I can move this over, yeah, particularly on the arm here and this eye, and a little bit of the whatever those antennae and hair. Okay, uh, whatever that is, that's cool. All right, and thank you, Roland, for your support. Also, I do these memberships for 99 cents that supports the work that I do here. With the live streams, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so thank you, Roland. I thank you so much. Uh, okay, we have a seahorse here. Again, the composition is just a tiny bit out of balance for me. Let's apply basic preset, and I think I'll go again with a square crop. Maybe go up a little higher and put them down there in the lower thirds, just so they're a little more prominent in the frame. What if I put them up here, maybe? Just a weird angle. How about front and center? No, I think I like all this down here. Is it in focus? It's pretty good focus here. So maybe the top left corner. Yeah, that works. All right. That's a really cool looking creature. I rarely see these, like in photos or in real life. I've only seen it once in real life in somebody's aquarium. Uh, okay, so I think all we need to do is some detail extraction. So let's try that. We'll do that and that, and then a little bit more with the unsharp mask, just to bring that out. Okay, and then how about this, whatever he's hanging on to, this underwater tree. Okay, there's a pretty strong light source here. Wow, another 90 macro. I'm gonna temper this hot spot here. So I'll just use a control point just to even it out a bit. There, that looks about right. All right, let's make a new mask. Let me try selecting the background. So I'm going to select, uh, I'm selecting the horse, but I don't know. Let me see if I can subtract a little bit. Mm, I need to think here if there's a way to do this. I can't do nothing there. Let's try negative control line. Give me a second. It's this the workflow's changed just a tiny bit from okay. Good. Yeah, that's what I wanted. And then this, I don't think I need this one. I'll just pull this back a little bit. Brighten this up. And then I'm going to go down here to the global and just pull it in. Okay, so let's just do about a third of a stop here and then go back to the mask and do a third of a stop there. Kind of overdid it. All right. I just want to darken the background a bit. Uh, and let me recompose a tiny bit. I'm just trying to balance this black spot and this black spot a little bit. Okay, let's export that. And we'll wait for that. Yeah, Larry, it's really good colors on this seahorse, right? Um, let that export real quick. All right. All right, so the main thing was the composition, right? Just a tighter crop on the seahorse. And I almost went, I didn't take this picture obviously, so I don't know what's over here underneath the seahorse. I'd like to see a little bit more here. But this looks pretty good. Um, and if we punch in really close, you can see the difference, how much detail we are able to pull out uh, very evenly, right? We're not getting haloing between the background and the foreground and what's in focus and out of focus. We're getting really fine details out of the seahorse's texture here. And there was a bit of a hot spot here. I'm not sure why. So I tempered that quite a bit on this side, but you can still see it. But it's not quite as prominent as it is in that image. But okay, very nice. All right, uh, let's go here. So we have kind of a lighthouse, I guess. So I'll do a preset, and the horizon is something a little crooked. I'm just going to try the auto perspective and see if that fixes it. Yeah, that's pretty good. And you want to make sure you always do your geometries first before you do any local editing. Um, Okay, so let's bring in the sky a bit, warm up the foreground, and composition maybe a little bit. I like this sailboat here. I think I like the information and the things going on over here, even though this side is less busy and more balanced and geometrically easy on the eyes, whereas this is a little bit cluttered, even though there's more information. So I guess from a sort of commercial view of this, I would probably crop this so that the left side had was in the frame. But from a more aesthetic uh, point of view, artistic point of view, I think the right side of the frame is a little more pleasing to the eye. Um, because in commercial properties, typically you like to show relevant information, and having a port over here on the left with this gigantic whatever cruise liner thing is, and a sailboat, the marina's over here. There's a nice deck or pier. Whereas on the right side, all you see is the building, which might be all you need. It might be a separate shot, but I'm just thinking out loud. So I'm going to do a vertical, but I'm going to use the same 4 by 3 aspect. I'm going to focus more on the artsy side and just balance this, maybe a 5 by 4. And I tend to use standard cropping dimensions and aspect ratios for the sake of if I ever want to print and frame this, it's easier to find frames and things. All right, I think that works. All right, so let's go to the sky. So we'll select that and just do some basic stuff here. Let's do a global warming. Okay, there's a couple of sensor spots on here too, right here and right here. So we'll fix that. There's another big one over here. You need to clean your sensor. Okay, let's temper the highlights a little bit here on this building. So I will just use a control point. Oh, I need to make a new mask. New, and then bang, tighten up the luminosity a bit. Maybe temper them over there and pull the highlights. And we definitely need some contrast for texture. Okay, good. Wow, there's another sensor spot here. Oops, let's do repair. All right, that's better. Uh, okay, let's do the water. Do that. And let's cool it off. What are we at? 65. Let's go down to that. All right. Okay. And on a global basis, let's go to the color. I want to emphasize some of these reds. So let's crank that up a bit. And then let's do this teal color. And then the yellows. Okay. And the sky needs a little more work. Go back to the sky mask. Uh, it's a little bit brighter. Maybe a slight shift. Let's shift the blues a little bit. Maybe a little more teal. Okay. Speaking of teal, let's pull the teals in a bit. Okay, and then I need a little more contrast down here on the pier. So I think a control line will work. I'm just going to put this onto one of the brownish and tighten up the chroma mask and the luma. And let's put it on the brighter part. I wonder, yeah, it needs to be tighter on the chroma. I don't know why it's not selecting over here so much. Okay. So let's just brighten that. A little bit of a push here. Some micro contrast. And a hint of warmth, like 200 Kelvin. All right. Let's export that. Looks good. Oh, Captain Cripple, you've cleaned your sensor. Okay, good. Awesome. Because I was seeing sensor spots kind of everywhere. There's another one right there, I think. But that's all right. Uh, we'll wait for that to finish exporting. Oh, I clipped this a little bit here. I need to recrop just a tiny bit. I hate to do that to the light, this little light post. But I kind of like that the steps kind of lead you into the frame right here, into the pier and then up to the stairway, up to the top of the lighthouse. So there's a little bit of a leading line right in here. But okay, let's compare. So yeah, the composition is the main thing here. There's just too much information here, two very distinct pieces of information about this scene. So I just simplified it, even though it is a relative geometrically is relatively complicated. I simplified the overall theme or information of this picture. I mean, is it about this building over here, this kind of lighthouse, or is it about the marina and the port and the shipping dock? Uh, if this was a much wider shot, like maybe a super wide angle, then you can include everything. But this is a little bit of a tight shot. What's your focal length? It looks a little compressed to me. You're at 70 millimeters on a APS-C. So yeah, this is a 135 millimeter field of view, or 105 millimeter field of view. So it's a little bit tight. that field of view is more about individual subjects rather than scenes, right? And there's just too much here. I'm not critiquing. I'm just explaining how I see the scene. Uh, but let's do a slider, and actually a slider is not going to work here. But this is a very flat, kind of cool, and this is much warmer, right? More vibrant, more texture, and I think compositionally this makes more sense for this scene. Okay, let's see. We have a new one here. What are we looking at? A window. Let's apply basic preset first. And I'm gonna just brighten the exposure just so I can see what's in the scene. So it looks like a coffee mug here or pot, some tile on the wall, and oh, that's classic. There's a thumb here. All right, classic, classic. I almost want to leave that in there. Is this EM5 Mark III and a 20 f1.4 Pro? Okay. I really want to leave this in here, this finger. Um, and this coffee pot. I don't need so much the tiling down here, but I like the silhouette of this, and I like this thumb or whatever. Okay. Uh, but obviously the scene is about framing this scene through the window. Um, Geometrically, gosh, let me look at this. Let me just brighten this and work with the geometry first. If I do a perspective, yeah, it's gonna kind of mess it up. Let me back it off a little bit. And then let's crop. So you can adjust the intensity. I'm gonna back it off. I kind of like this angle. Like I said, I love that thumb up there and this coffee pot. So I'm gonna adjust the composition. Um, More like this. Maybe a 5 by 4. I do at least want to center the window. All right, that's good. Because this finger kind of counterbalances the coffee pot here, right? Okay. Oh, and just real quick, I just noticed this chat here. Uh, John, the moonshot you sent me is like a 500 pixel JPEG. Um, I don't know if I can do any editing with that, but if that's what you meant to send me, that's fine. But if you have the raw image of that, that would be better. Then I might be able to show something of more consequence. But go ahead and upload the raw image if you have it, or if you meant to send me the JPEG, that's fine. Okay, so this is my new composition. Let me just double check here. The window's kind of balanced. It just still feels a little bit off, but I think we're okay. Let's just move over a little bit. All right, I'm gonna see what the smart lighting does. That's okay. I had some clear view. Just using auto settings here. Oh, I need to get out of the out of that corner. Maybe, maybe I don't even need the frame. Just a little bit more of the frame. Okay. Now, uh, there's very little hope of recovering the window. I'm just doing some global settings here. Let me try this side real quick. Yeah, that's not going to be pretty. Some color casting and although it did kind of clean up the noise, it's not, yeah, it's not going to work. It's a little bit too underexposed. So we're going to have to go a different direction. Um, maybe, just push the highlights and midtones as much as I can and not worry about the shadowed areas. I hate to lose the finger though. We can do the same thing on this side. Hmm. Okay. That's good. And then let's make a new mask and just silhouette this a little bit. Okay. Yeah. All right. Maybe just a tiny bit up in here. Oops. And down here. Oh, no. If I had a kiss there, I think just this is good. Okay, I'm going to loop it and just make sure the noise isn't too disgusting. But I think we're okay. Yeah, that looks good. So in here, I think we're good. Not much to do back here. It's so small. So I'm going to focus on the details up here. Uh, if I back this off a little bit, yeah, that's better. Still got a little noise in there, but that's okay. And then we need to get some of the green out of that, I think. So I'm going to just select green here. It's probably a little bit of blue in there too. All right. I think that's it. So let's export this. And we'll give that a minute. So the moonshot was shot handheld with a 40 to 152.8 and a 1.4 extender. Yeah, that's an awesome combination though. And that was an awesome shot because I know how hard those are to do unless you get extremely lucky. Those are really tough shots to do. Okay, let's see. Let's see how this came out. I'm not feeling it here, but okay, so here's the original on the right, and there's really no hope of pulling in these too much. So I just brought them in a little bit, particularly on the highlights or the midtones where there was, not much noise or less noise than say in these really dark areas. So that's why I had to kind of silhouette. I should have silhouetted in here just a little bit more. This image really needs this image really needs Nick collection because there's a couple of presets in Nick collection that would make this pretty awesome. There's some built in here with Photolab. These are just LUTs, not like maybe this faded amber. Yeah, that looks good. So let's compare this. So I just added one of the LUTs. Those are included with DxO9. I should have pulled the blacks in a bit more though. Let me just do that. Kind of losing that finger, but that's okay. Okay, I'm going to export that. And once that's ready, we'll compare. Give that a second. How are we doing on time? Oh, wow, it's an hour and 44. I just feel bad. I'm not going through these as quickly as I thought I would. Um, all right, so there's another variant. I would take this in a Nick collection and try and really make it kind of more rustic, I guess. But I think that came out pretty good. The composition is definitely better. I'm sorry I couldn't keep this finger. It was just too dark. But I think that came out pretty good. All right. So John, this shot here, if I look at the dimensions, Yeah, it's not even 1 megapixel, right? Uh, it's less than 1 megapixel. So I'm not sure what I can do editing wise, but let me just emphasize, uh, how hard these shots are to do. Like I said, in the rare case you get extremely lucky, okay, but this is definitely a planned shot, and this is awesome. So really, I'll give you huge kudos to getting a shot like this. It's not an easy thing to do. Uh, I guess with practice you can get better at it, but still, still a lot of luck involved as well. Determining the plane's flight path, the timing of the moon, the timing of the day. There's a ton of planning that goes into this. It's not a simple thing. So good job. But yeah, that's all I can do to editing is just add a little bit of contrast, and that's it, honestly, without having the raw image. And even if I did, there's so few pixels on that subject because if I were to crop in, there's barely half a megapixel there, right, of data. But okay, let's go to the next one and let's apply basic preset. Oh, what an awesome system! The G9 original and this 200 f2.8. This is definitely a lens. If it wasn't for the focal length, if I needed this focal length, I would love to have this lens. I just can't justify a 200 f8 because I just don't use it that much, that focal length. So I did apply the preset. So let's darken the background, maybe add a vignette, some contrast to the eyes, and a little bit more color. The composition, I think, is already very tight. We filled the frame, so not much I can do there. So we'll just work with the lighting. So let me just start with the eyes. I'll just use a simple control point for those. And let's just give it clear view and micro contrast. And then let's do some of the reds and oranges here. Just needs a little vibrancy. And then let's do another control point. Uh, just overall in the front of the tiger, tighten up the chroma and just do a linear push on the brightness. Okay, so that's a full stop, but then I'm going to back it off globally here. If I do another full stop, that's too much. It's not bad though. Go back to the eyes. We need to temper the eyes a bit. And then let's temper the highlights a bit. Okay. We'll add a little bit more, some micro contrast and some warmth. Okay. Um, Let me see how we're doing. These eyes need some more contrast somehow. What am I doing wrong here? I need I need something, maybe a new control point. Oops. Where's my Just use a brush. Just pull this in a bit. Do the same thing here. Okay. Oh, why do I keep doing that? All right. There, that's better. All right, let's just add a vignette, and I think we'll call it there. Whoops, wrong button. This one. Kind of like the colors down in here too. Wonder if I do vibrancy on the vignette and then add a little bit of warmth. All right, that's good. And then this last, let me see if I can back off the luminosity and the chroma maybe. No, that's good. Need to do something. All right, I'm gonna call it there because I have a lot of pictures to do today. The Paul says, I sent my edit of the tiger in. I have a similar shot to John's with a plane by the moon. It was just pure luck. Might send it in for next week. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's so lucky when you get those. It's rare. So let's get this edit in. Okay, so yeah, it's just kind of flat over here. And I wanted to emphasize light on the front and of course bring out the eyes a little bit more and the tongue and the nose. And I think that came out pretty good. Composition, like I said, it's already kind of filled the frame, so there's not much uh to crop or recompose. Unless I really wanted to do a totally different kind of thing where I crop in like really tight just to the head and the shoulders. I've seen portraits like that, but I would do that if he was looking directly into the camera. Since he's not looking directly into the camera, I didn't want to do a tight crop like that. You have to kind of add context. If he's not looking at the camera, add context to where he's looking and where he's going. So, yeah, I think that came up pretty good. We can zoom in for fine details too. Yeah, but see the eye? I had to really work on that eye to bring it out more. But I think, yeah, that came out pretty good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we have a seascape here. So I'll do a basic preset. Compositionally, there's not much going on up here, so I'm gonna crop in right in here. I'm not crazy about all the rocks here, but I do like the wave pattern here. But if I crop in, I think we have the wave pattern here and the clouds to complement. Okay, so I think that's what I'll do is a super wide crop. So a 16 by 7. and just come in. We don't need so much on the right side. I think this balance looks good right there. Little surfer dude here, but it'd been nice if they were somewhere else, but they're right here on the edge, which is distracting. So I don't think cropping in this way, yeah, no. Maybe we'll crop them out altogether. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So let's do a control line up here, add some clear view, maybe a tiny bit of contrast. And then globally, I feel like I need to warm this image up more. Where are we at? We're 53. Let's try 58. Yeah, that looks better. And then let's just create a new mask for the water. And I'm just going to use control points. We'll add some clear view, maybe a little extra warmth. Okay. And it's a little bit too gritty in the front. I mean, normally I like fine details, but I want to soften this up relative to the water. So maybe we'll try the AI tool, see if it'll, yeah, that's good. And let's use the rectangle. Uh, Try that again. Let's start on this side. Hmm, it's struggling a little bit with this. Anyway, I'll come back to that. Let's just temper the this wall a little bit. Just a little bit lower contrast, a little more color. Maybe shift it. All right. I think we're good. So, so I have a little bit of a line coming out of this left corner and then going around with the waves, kind of framing the left side and then using the right side as more of a sort of a, wouldn't call it a backdrop, but just to kind of balance everything out. Um, I think that works pretty well. Okay. Oh, let's reset this. Okay. So, maybe a side by side. So yeah, here's the original on the right, because you're standing here along this wall, trying to capture this really wide scene. I don't know. This side is pretty interesting too. It'd have been nice to get a couple of shots and make a really wide panel. But anyhow, I think this composition is what I ended up with. And then just to get an idea, there's the before and there's the after. I think that came out nice. Okay. Let's go to the next one here from Robert. Oh, hey, Robert, how are you? If you're watching now or later, I'm going to Great Falls tomorrow morning. If you're going to join us on the photo walk, I'm hosting that one tomorrow morning. I know we've been there a million times, but I love Great Falls. Okay, another one from Japan, it looks like. So let's apply basic preset and uh maybe a perspective correction. Is that you there standing there? That could be you, right? I don't know. Um, let's see what this does. Oh, yeah, better. And then we'll center this. So I'm going to bring this down. There's a little box right here. I'm just going to use that to center and make sure it's centered down here more or less. Yeah, that looks good. And then we'll frame this in a 5x4. Again, let's center it. Oops, come on, get in there. All right, good. All right, so let's use a control line to kind of bring up these shadows a bit, a little tighter on the luma. And let's just do a linear push. Okay. Now I'm going to actually cool this off a tiny bit. We're going to make a new control line. And this time I'm going to focus on the highlights. Uh, like this. A little tighter on the luma. And maybe let's get a little warmth in there first. Maybe a little bit of a push and pull, some micro contrast. Okay. Okay, good. And then let's do the AI tool on the people, maybe a rectangular. Oh, there we go. Just brighten that, maybe a little bit of warmth on them, a little more. I'm gonna push on highlights. Okay, something like that. Um, okay, the highlights here look good. Maybe a little push on the shadows here. So let's do just a little bit of a push on the shadows. Let's spread that out. And do a linear push. Okay, some micro contrast. No, let's see what we can do. Okay, and then a couple of more touches with a new mask with some control points. Make a little tighter on the luma and chroma. And let's pick right about there. And a little bit more warmth. Okay, we'll do that there and there. Maybe a little bit here. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, let's just do a little bit on the water. So select it there and pull it in. Did you get selected or not? I did not select it. There we go. Maybe not so much in the clear view. And then let's do the sky. Uh, Again, some clear view, a little bit of pull on the highlights, and touch of micro contrast. Maybe not that much. Yeah, that's good. And then globally, let me try different. Yeah, I like vibrant. I could even try a LUT. Uh, yeah, I like that. All right, let's export that. Kind of got a filmic look to it now, right? All right, it's taking just a little bit longer. I guess I could monitor it down here. Okay, it's done. Okay, so there's the original on the right. So just a little bit of a crop because of the perspective to get the line straight and the overall perspective, horizontal, vertical aspect ratio, or or what do they call it? Skewing, or I should get my terminology right since I do these kind of corrections all the time. But I think that's a kind of a cool shot now with the kind of filmic look that you can do right in Photolab 9. I thought was appropriate for this sort of travel photo. It looks awesome. Okay. Um, okay, we have one here. architectural. Let's apply basic preset. Let's do maybe a perspective thing. Okay, good. Just a minor touch there. So we have some colors, green, and I like this little door here. It's a different color. It'd been nice to be a little bit over to the left and get more of this door and this door and this door in the frame. And compositionally, I'm pretty okay with it overall. There's nothing I can really do in post, but on the scene, I would have been a little bit more to the left and captured more of the right side of the building by the field of view that you'd be at if you moved left. But anyhow, I don't know if I can do much with that door. It's just so little in the frame. Let's try a 3x2 and see if I can just put that door in the rule of thirds. We have this corner, this, yep. And just get rid of a little bit of that street. Or the parking lot, I should say. Okay, that feels a little better. Uh, Now let's do some local adjustments. Um, Maybe I'll try a control line again and just work on the shadows. Just push them up. A little bit of contrast, a little bit of warmth. Where are we at? 65. Let's go to about 68. Okay. And then I'm going to do some window work here. And just stay in here. Okay, and let's do something about this door. Let me try the AI tool. So I got the pointer. Okay. And let's just saturate a little bit, maybe give it a little brightening. Okay. And then the only other thing I might do is just the texture globally. So let's do some micro contrast and clear view. Maybe temper the highlights a bit. Let's go back to the sky. Let's just do AI select. All right. All right. Perfectly serviceable image for a client that might be selling this building. Like I said, I'm moved over a little to the left, but other than that, we're good. Um, so we'll just export that. It's taking a bit. Okay, so here's the original on the right and my edit on the left. Uh, Pretty straightforward edit. Just basically straighten the lines and bring out a little contrast and color, right? And a little tighter cropped. I just wanted to get rid of this black pavement here versus the more concrete-ish pavement over here. All right. Let's see what we have here. Oh, okay. So some kind of grapevines. Um, let's do a basic preset. We're definitely gonna have to temper the highlights because this is basically midday. Let's do it this way with the linear. There is some clouds back there. They're really tough to see. I don't know if I should make it warmer and then pull it back some more. All the color information is pretty much washed out. Let's go to the global and pull it in. Okay. Smart lighting did a little work, so I may not need to do quite as much there. Just leave the white balance alone for now. Gosh, I'm not sure what else I can do here. Uh, I'm just thinking, is there is there a different composition I can do that might make this scene a little more interesting? Hmm. It'd been nice to get a close up of these buckets. Like, oh, yeah, because basically the scene is going for the geometry, right? And not so much the what's really going on here with these grapes. I'm at a loss here. So I like this line at, yeah, I would have probably gotten much lower, like to this bucket of grapes, and then framed a big part of this. But we're going to lose too much resolution if I crop in that much. But I'm thinking like lower and, but our point of view is too high up for that shot. I don't think I can distort it enough to bring that in. Let me see, maybe I can. I'm totally jacking up the original scene though of what you were going for. Yeah, that's not going to work. The point of view is just way off. So let's just stick with Let's stick with that. And that's all I can do. Um, sorry, Jeff, I didn't have much input on this one. But here's the original on the left. Here's my edit on the right. All I could do is really bring in some of the sky, but these are all clipped already. Um, and I couldn't think of anything compositionally to improve this. But appreciate you sending that in. It's tough. That was a tough one. All right. Well, let's do this one here. So basic preset. Again, I think this is a second one from John. So I can do it though. And let's temper the highlights in the sky. I don't know if, yeah, there's nothing to recover there. So they're clipped. We'll just bring the highlights in a bit. I like the flowers and the colors here, the color of the leaves here, and the texture of these bricks. I don't care about all of this over here. So maybe a complete crop, a really tight crop on this. Wonder if I can do any kind of course I'm losing the tree. Uh, let's just do that. Uh, let's do that and make a new control point in here and here. Add some clear view and micro contrast. Maybe just a linear pull. And then let's go over globally. I'm going to put this on the vibrant. Let's push the reds and oranges a bit. And then the yellows. Um, this needs a little bit of a push. Okay. No, I guess we're okay. I don't think there's much else I can do here. Okay. Maybe I'm just getting tired. I'm just not seeing a composition here. I like the elements, the flowers and the colors and this tree, the texture here, but the composition overall, I don't have any ideas. Uh, you know, as it stands. I would definitely move over to the right on this one rather than trying to work this path or this road going around, or I don't know. There's a lot of I would have to work this scene more. Um, well, let's do a side by side. Okay, it's still processing, I guess. But yeah, this road, that was a tough one, John. That's the best I could do with that is just basically bring up the saturation and then crop in the part that I didn't like, which was this right side. Okay, let's go to last one. Uh, high basic preset, another astro shot, and let's see what our settings are. 20 seconds, 1600 at set. Awesome settings. I don't see who sent this yet, but those are really good settings. Whoops. So we just need to temper the foreground a little bit and bring out the background. So let's do, and the white balance is perfect, I think. I don't think anything I need to do here. So let's just let's create a little bit, temper the highlights a bit. And then actually we'll do a little push on the highlights on this side, just so it kind of matches. Maybe inside here. Uh, okay. Now let's work on the sky. So we'll do a control line and let's move this somewhere in the middle and just pull the blacks in. And push the highlights a bit. Okay. And then I'm going to need a very, very tight masking on the Milky Way like we did last time. So we'll do this and very tight luminosity and less on the chroma. Okay. And we'll try and be very selective going up. Okay. Okay. Good. I think the top I'll do differently. I'll need to I'll need to use a different control point for the top. Maybe I can spread this a little bit. No, this one might be. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, I need one here. Sorry, I'm concentrating. Tiny bit of contrast and some color. Oops. Actually, we might need to warm it up a tiny bit. Okay, let's do a new control point up here. This one and very tight aroma right there and right there and there. We just need to do a little bit less. Same thing with just less. Okay. Then down here, maybe. Same control point. Maybe right there a little bit. Spread that. Okay. So let me go back to my first mask. Which one was it? This one, third mask here. Just gonna warm this up a bit. It's actually a little less green. Yeah, I'm gonna need I need a new control line. But this one, and we'll feather it about there. Maybe less chroma and luma masking, but let's just start. We need a lot less green in there and more reds. Or if I can, it's not enough red in there. Just shift it. Maybe it's the greens. Yeah, greens. This is all subjective, right? I'm just trying to get it to taste. Okay. And then compositionally, we can crop just a little bit. Let's try 3 by 2. Get more of the foreground in. And just center a little bit on these. And a new control point just in here. Okay. Not bad. I washed this out a little bit. Let me go back here. More clear view and contrast, maybe. Yikes. And then on the turn off the chromatics. Maybe I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out a way. It's very hard to see, but I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out a way to get rid of some of the aberrations, like this haloing. There's a little blue dot there that I think I can temper if I'm really wanted to work on that. I'm gonna try not to use the film pack tools, but let me see. If I select that, tighten the chroma a bit. Okay. And then just desaturate this. Hmm. That kind of helps. And then just expand that out. All right, let's export that. Uh, I could probably back off some of this dead pixel stuff. But anyway, I'm running out of steam here. Hey Robert, thank you so much. Oh yeah, that's one R Mark II. I'm definitely getting there. That's awesome. Thank you. And then Mark says the seahorse is sitting on a soft coral. Both were taken in the ocean with flash. Okay, that explains the hotspot a little bit. The seahorse at 100 feet, both are 5 to 10 meters in size. Wow, 5 to 10 millimeters, excuse me. If I said meters, that would be Godzilla. Millimeters. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, Mark. Let's compare. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I just did a little tighter crop. Because I didn't bring out the details all the way up to here. I would have to spend a little more time, and I could probably do that. But yeah, I just had to temper the highlights a little, but then bring up the shadows a little in the front, then accentuate the Milky Way itself. And I think that looks pretty good. So we'll just slide across. There's the original. It's a raw image, it's flat, and then just bringing in the contrast. And I think that came out pretty good. It's a little shooting star up here. That's cool. All right. Gosh, let me pull up and see what's come in. I know you guys sent some of your edits in. Uh, wow, there's a few more to edit. I don't think I have the energy, Roland. Uh, it's only two more. I might as well do it. Let me download these. So Roland has his edit, I believe, his raw. No, it's just a JPEG. If you have the raw, it would be better, Roland, if you have the raw image. If not, because a lot of people shoot JPEG, right? So they're not going to send me a raw if they don't have it. But I'll see what I can do with the image you sent me. And I think this is Mark's edited image. And just scrolling down to see if there's anything else. Okay. So, this is Mark's edit. And then where's mine? Let's compare it to, I didn't export the images to the right folder. Uh, Let me export this to the same folder. And then this one, and I think it's in here. Hold on. Where are these exporting to? Oh, my sample folder. All right. So this is Mark's edit here on the right. That's my edit. Wow, it's really similar. Other than the crop. I like your crop better. This 3 by 2. That's definitely, but I think processing wise is almost identical. Um, in terms of detail. So really good job. Very, very similar edit otherwise. Wow. Eerie how similar they are. Mine's a little bit warmer. So I like this little bit cooler on the seahorse. Just a hair, maybe 1 or 200 Kelvin difference between the two. But yeah, I like yours better, Mark, ultimately. Okay, good job. So that said, let's see, there is, I thought I saw a couple of new images. Oh, there's one. All right. I can do it. Since you're here, I can do it. I am exhausted, but I can do it. Let's apply a preset. So it may not be my best work. Of course, it never is really in a stream, right? Because this is interesting. I like this perspective. Maybe just give it a little more diagonal. Let's see. Just a little bit like this, a little tighter. Smart view, sorry, smart lighting. Okay. It needs to be warmer, that's for sure. And I was like, man, this is sharp. And I was like, oh, no wonder this is what I have, the 300 f4. That's such a great lens. Let's bring out the eyes here a bit. Oops, I'm gonna have to make that smaller. So we'll tighten up the chroma a bit and luma, saturation. Let's try a linear push on the brightness. Might have to come in a little tighter. micro contrast. Yeah, the beak doesn't need that, but maybe the fish. Okay, and then let's temper the highlights. So I'll use another control point. Um, some micro contrast. And let's add some exposure back in. Okay, now the water, let's just do some clear view and pull the blacks in. Whoops, not that much. Something like that, though. And I'll look, Paul. I didn't see your tiger edit right off, but I'll look. I'll look again after I do this one. So where are we at? Yeah, I think that's good. And then something is just a bit off, though. To my white balance, maybe? Doesn't look right. Let me go back to Ash Shot and just warm it up manually. I think what it is the speculars here. It's what's kind of driving me a little bit. Uh, it's just creating this weird contrast between the bird and the water versus like this water over here that's black. Uh, there's a little bit of a reflection here. Maybe we can exaggerate that a little bit. And then maybe just let's get rid of this bright spot here. I'm just not liking the white balance. I think I'm gonna go black and white balanced. Let's go balanced, and then I'm gonna add a control point down here and just pull the blacks in. Then let's lean into the highlights. Okay, I think we're done there. I just could not get the color version to give me pleasing colors. Um, Even if I natural, there's just a certain color in here that's bothering me. Maybe actually, I'm gonna go back to the water mask and then let's try cooling off the water a bit. Oh, that's much better. Got it. This is the edit I'm gonna go with. So we'll look at both the black and white and the color. All right. We'll wait for that to finish. So this, I think this is the black and white edit here, right? So the black and white's okay, but I think the color is going to be a lot nicer when it's done exporting. It's not done yet. I mean, this is kind of what the color looks like, but let's, so here's the original on the right. Here's my edit on the left. Yeah, this water was a problem. A lot of problems, right? All the speculars around the bird, which can't be helped because you can't, you know, you're standing where you are. Sometimes moving, you can mitigate the reflections a bit or the speculars. But the color of this water versus the overall white balance was throwing me off. And I think this works a lot better. Um, Whoops. So, and then just a little tighter crop. So the bird is more in the frame. But I think that came out pretty good. Okay. Thought there was one more, but I think I've done all these. Oh, this one. Okay. So let's see. Let's just do a basic preset. Let's crop out the frame. Almost looks like a UFO over here, but it's probably just the light. Let me do a free form, unless this is it's a 4:3, right? Cell phones usually have 4:3 aspect. And then the white balance, it's going to be tough with a JPEG. Let's see if we can shift the colors. That's going to be tough too. I like this yellow window though, but this purple, let me see if I can temper this purplish color to a more stony color. Oh, but then we're losing the, yeah, we'll do that. And same thing over here. I might have to go black and white because I'm just not able to isolate these colors right. So let's try that. Um, let's do this. 'Cause I like this one lit window. So we'll do a partial color. I still have a little bit of yellow up here, but we can temper that. Okay. Now we'll add some contrast, uh, like clear view, micro contrast to bring out some more of the texture, and then maybe okay. Um, we need a little more light or less light here. I think going with less light will be easier. So let's tighten up the chroma, and then okay, what is this over here? That's just weird. It's really distracting, whatever that is. So I'm going to get rid of that. All right, close enough. Of course, now the correction looks worse. Hold on. See if I can adjust this. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Uh, dang it, it bothers me though. Let's do it this way. Okay, that's better. Um, and then we need a little more brightness overall. Go back to this, it's this one. Okay. Then let's go to and this other mask is rearing its head again. That's the right mask, yeah. So there we go. All right, let's see what we have here. We have this. Okay, we'll leave it there. Um, I wish I could have brought the if I had the raw image, I might be able to do a little better job trying to keep the colors in the stonework here, but with the JPEG, it's just not really doable. Um, but I did like this yellow window. I didn't like this UFO, whatever that is. Um, and I like this black and white, very dramatic. So I think that came out pretty good. Right. Um, Man, all right. I think I'm done. Let me just look at one more time if that I'm sorry, the tiger edit. Here it is. So, oh, so you did do a tighter crop that I was talking about in the, in the in my edit, right? But uh I decided to keep the whole thing. I think this would work better if they were looking at the camera, right? But it's not bad. This crop, I guess this crop works too. And you did a little better job with the colors and contrast here, I think, than I did. I like your colors better than my colors here. It's more orange. That's definitely nicer on this tiger. The only thing I like better about mine is the eyes, blacking out the centers so that they're just more visible, the pupil. But I think overall I like your colors better. There's a slight green overcast though, I'm seeing on my monitor. Just a very slight. Yeah, you wanted to eliminate the fence, right? I see. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. If you did like a not pro capture, but a continuous shutter, there might have been one frame in there that, the tiger might have looked over at the camera, right? Maybe you did that and this was the best one. But I would have liked to seen the tiger looking, right into the camera when you do a close up like that. Just personal preference. Whew, okay, so I think that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks so much for the super chats and memberships. They're all greatly appreciated. I did my best here for 3 hours. Man, I'm getting hungry. But I'll be back again Sunday, hopefully this week, and I can talk about Ben a little bit without falling apart like I did last week. And I'm so sorry about that. I had to kind of unlist that video because I didn't want it to be about me and my right? Grieving. I wanted to talk about Ben. And just mentioning his name now is tearing me up again. So I may not be able to talk about Ben for another week. Uh, so yeah, I'll be back Sunday, God willing. And tomorrow, for those of you that are in the Northern Virginia area, I'm hosting the photo walk to Great Falls on the Maryland side, 7 a.m. So if you want to join me there, you're welcome. Admissions is free on this Saturday instead of the normal $20. But you guys have a great weekend either way. Eat healthy, exercise, and I will see you again soon.